I was looking for a couple lights to light up the pathway, and I couldn't find anything that I really cared for, and I had an idea in my mind what I wanted, so I actually just took some cedar 4x4 and 2x4s and pieces and threw together a light out of that and wired it up with 12-volt yard lights, and turned out pretty much what I wanted. I was very happy with that.
Well, I noticed that you've got some beautiful lamium around your trees. How did you get started with those?
I got those from the farm store with a bunch of other plants and planted them in an area by a tree, and they kind of took over it. They completely pushed everything out, and I was having a hard time growing anything under a maple tree and an ash tree. So I kind of moved that around, and it took over, and it made a beautiful ground cover for the tree.
I see that you have a lot of old things. Did these come from your wife at her antique store?
No, those are items that the wife kind of complains to me about. I tend to find stuff in the creek that runs through our yard and back, and things that are buried in the mud and by the railroad track, and I tend to haul them home and throw them out in our garden as a little garden decor. Some of these things that I've hauled home are part of an old mill wheel that I found back in the creek area, an old axle for probably like a mining cart for working on building the railroad, fire brick from a steam engine, axle from a wagon, but I just keep finding odds and ends down in the creek that get washed out and opened up, and I haul them home, and my wife's not too excited about all of it. It's starting to get to be a lot of stuff that I'm bringing back in, but I kind of like the old history that belongs to these items, and it's part of our lot with the railroad running through it, and with this lot being a cattle yard that was started in 1879.
I even see that you have used a bed or part of a bed for an arbor or a trellis.
Yes, that came in quite handy for a trellis. We actually have a matching one in another spot here in the yard too for vines to grow on, but it's handy and it's cheap. That's kind of my favorite things.
And then, did you build the gazebo out here too?
Yes, I built that gazebo probably 12, 15 years ago. Originally, we had a gazebo built out of willow branches, kind of a twig structure that was kind of unique and almost that size that one of the local artisans built for us. And I kind of plunked it there because that's a low spot in the yard and always collected water and the grass didn't grow, so that's how that ended up being placed there, is just because it was a lousy spot for the yard. On our headboard and gazebo, we've planted some clematis, which kind of gives a real colorful pop, just like things climbing up and giving a little height to the garden.
And I know that you've got Dropmore honeysuckle on there too. I bet you that actually grows pretty quickly to cover that.
Yes, that honeysuckle I kind of have to trim back every now and then, but the hummingbirds really enjoy it, and it does give a little shade on the south side of the gazebo to keep the gazebo a little cooler.
You've got beautiful planters scattered around by your yard. Do you do those?
Both my wife and I throw a few things in the planters and try to get them out just to spice up the corners of the deck and the room and give a little more color to the area by the house.
What are some of your favorite plants here in the yard?
I enjoy the lilies when they kind of explode this time of the year. Hostas are nice because they don't take a lot of work and they're so colorful all through the year. just plant what I like, and if it works, it stays there. If it doesn't, I try to move it around somewhere where it will survive better. But I'm learning.
Well, when I was here before, you mentioned that you actually have a bleeding heart too, and you had quite an experience with that. Tell us about it.
The bleeding heart we planted, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and that moved along kind of slowly, but because of the way the spring was, the wet spring, they both exploded and got to be maybe 6 feet around. And they were beautiful, but they just took over an area of the garden that I wasn't planning on. So I went out and started trimming the bleeding heart down, and I found that I started breaking out within a day or two. I tend to react to poison ivy and wild parsnips real bad. And I did the exact same thing with the bleeding heart, which I never knew that caused that. But I'm a lot more careful now if I have to trim those up.
Do you divide and move some of your plants around too?
Yeah, because I'm so inexperienced, I tend to plant things a little too close, and then I have spots that I want to fill in. So I do change my mind a lot to move things around and try to fill it out. And I'm trying to learn to use the height of the plant and that, and get that balanced out a little better. So